Hello everyone. Today we're gonna look at the situation with Bitcoin, which is trading at $117,811, roughly 2 days before the end of the month. Let me remind you that August is traditionally not a very good month for Bitcoin. It usually goes down, but as you know, there are exceptions to every rule. I'd also like to remind you that in the previous video we talked about how Bitcoin has 2 levels that it is very likely to reach. The key question was, which of these levels will it reach first? That was the $118,900 level. Bitcoin went up to $119,700, which is even $900 higher, or was it 800? 800, and the $117,400 level, which it has visited repeatedly since then, including today, and it has also gone noticeably lower again. So what is happening here and now? Right now, Bitcoin is trading sideways. We'll take a look at that, but as usual, let's first look at the monthly candles. What do we see on the monthly candles? On the monthly candles, we see a full-fledged growth candle. It has completely normal parameters, but I want to emphasize that there's still time left until the end of the month, and the situation could change significantly. But here and now, this situation suggests that in August we are very likely to see a new all-time high. Well, that's how it works. And as a rule, such patterns are usually followed by a new high. But the candle after that could turn out to be red. I'm talking about the August candle. In any case, we need to wait for the July candle to close. Now, let's move on to the weekly candles. Let's see what we have here. On the weekly time frame, the week before last, we got a potentially reversal candle. And last week, look, we saw that candle get engulfed. So this is a bullish engulfing pattern, which indicates a continuation of the upward movement. Actually, the situation isn't so clear-cut, because if you look at the top of the screen right now, you'll see that the Dow Jones is down by 0.5% today, the S&P 500 by 0.2%, and the Nasdaq by about 0.1%. But it's not just a decline, it doesn't seem very significant. This decline is happening almost from all-time highs, because the stock market, practically every day, is setting new record highs in the US stock indices. That's why you need to be extremely cautious, because the drop could be very sharp and very rapid. You absolutely must use stop orders, regardless of whether you're opening long or short positions. Now let's switch to the daily candles and we'll see just how ambiguous the situation is. So if we look at the daily candles without my markings and stretch the chart out a bit like this, we'll see that on the daily candles for a very long time, specifically since the 11th of July of this year, there has been sideways movement, a range-bound market. If I turn on my markings, you'll see that this range-bound trading is happening between the levels of $117,420 and $119,841. Accordingly, as long as neither of these levels is broken, and by broken I mean a daily candle closing either below or above the range, we can only guess and speculate about where the movement will go. I want to emphasize that the monthly candles suggest a new high is likely. The weekly candles, due to last week's bullish engulfing, also indirectly point toward growth. But as long as the 119,841 level hasn't been broken, I wouldn't rush. Is it possible to open a long position right now? Well, in theory, probably yes, but you should wait for the current 4-hour candle to close. Let's take a look at it. Here it is, right here, take a look. There was a retest of the 117,420 level, and if this candle closes green, then in principle you can try opening a long position with a stop below the low of this candle. But note that if we remove all the markings, we'll see that Bitcoin is once again trading below the 2 moving averages, which indicates that the movement could continue toward the 200 period moving average on the 4-hour chart, and that's around the $114,000 area. And $114,000 is an unfilled gap that has remained for several weeks now on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, so I would be very cautious in this regard. This doesn't mean that we will necessarily fall, but I would still prefer to wait for a breakout of one of the levels. And that can only be seen on the daily candles. With that, I suggest we wrap up this review. We are keeping an eye on how things develop. If the current 4-hour candle closes green, well, you could try to go long, but it's more reliable to do so if you see that this 4-hour candle or one of the next ones closes above all the moving averages, which is around 100 $18,400 or higher on the 4-hour time frame respectively. For now, it's better to just sit back and watch how the situation unfolds. Subscribe to the channel, leave your comments, and give a like or dislike depending on whether you enjoy this kind of video or not. Goodbye.